everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna. This is Coffee, Books, and Bullet Journals, and I'm going to do something I've never done before, but we are going to tier rank my 5-star reads. This has been a thing that has been going around for a really long time. Like tier ranking series, tier ranking characters, tier ranking whatever. And I thought I would go through and all of my 5-star reads from the time I started BookTube, so early 2018, I'm going to rank them and see if they are still 5-star reads. So we have God tier, solid 5-star read. I need to reread it. I fell for the hype, or what was I thinking? Obviously this is not everything, because there's a bunch of them here. I tried to, there's some where the series, especially early on in my BookTube life, I gave an entire series of 7 books 5 stars. So I think I only have maybe 1 or 2 from there, but this is pretty much everything up till the middle of the year this year. So July is not in here. I don't remember if June is or not either, but we'll see. We'll just, or I take that back. Some of the books from July are on here. Just kidding. All right, so we're just gonna go with it. Okay, so some of these are pretty familiar. Obviously, you've seen me talk about all of these. So I obviously loved them at one point. Let's see what we've got. All right, the first one we have is A Man Called Ova. And that is, I don't want to call it God tier, because I think Beartown is God tier. I think that one's so much better. But I definitely think that it's a solid 5-star read. It's good, and it made my top 10 last year. But I don't know that it's the top of the top. Right. Next, All the Impossible Things. It's a middle grade book. It made my top 5 last year. That one is an amazing book, and it's God tier. That's just, it's God tier. All the Light We Cannot See. So this one is a book that I read in 2018, and it's historical fiction. It's World War II. I think I fell for the hype on this one because everyone was talking about it. Everyone was loving it. People that don't normally read historical fiction were still rating it 4 and 5 stars. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But honestly, I don't remember anything about that book. And I tried to reread it. We're gonna listen to it on an audiobook on a road trip, and I was not paying attention at all. All right, An Anonymous Girl by Gruber, Hendrix, and Sarah Peckinen. This was probably one of my favorite thrillers from last year. It didn't make my top 10 books, but it definitely was something that I remembered. A lot of that had to do with it being a psychology experiment, and I love that in books. Definitely was in the minority there. So I'm calling it a solid 5-star read. All right, the next one, Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. This is the second book in the Renegades trilogy. It's the only one I gave 5 stars. I gave Renegades 3.5 and Supernova 4 or 4.5. I can't remember. I don't think it's a 5-star book. It's good, but it's I don't remember anything about it really. And people there's a couple of people that I know are gonna kill me right now, but I think I fell for the hype on this one. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I've read this one back in 2018. Listened to the entire thing on audiobook on a road trip or something. No. Okay, so here's the thing. Lin-Manuel Miranda narrates it, so the narration is God tier, and I didn't think about any of this before, because I probably need to reread it. However, the author is a little bit problematic in the fact that he does not do well with negative reviews. So what was I thinking? Yeah, that was definitely one of those problematic authors. All right, Autoboyography by Christina Lauren. This is Christina Lauren's only young adult book, and I love it so much. It's funny because the first time I read it, I was like, oh, it's 4 stars, because there were a couple things. So this book takes place in Salt Lake City, and there's a couple of things that just, like, don't make sense geographically. And, like, there was, like, for instance, I think there was a TGI Fridays in Provo, which there isn't. I was like, oh, that's a 4-star read. I'd, like, do your research. But then I reread it, and I was like, no, I love this book. I fucking love this book. So I think it's God tier. Yep, I think it is. And it is a great, great story on LGBT and religion and how those two can intersect. Okay. Moving on, Bad Romance by Heather Demetrios. I read this one in 2018. And it is a beautiful story about abuse and domestic abuse and partner abuse, and it is heartbreaking. It made my top 2, 3, I think it was 3rd in my 2018 top books. So I'm thinking it's still, no, it's not a reread. I think it's still God tier. I think it is. All right, Beartown by Frederick Bachmann. I already talked about this one a little bit. This one is absolutely God tier. Where'd it go? This is absolutely God tier. I read it in January of this year. It will definitely make my top 10 of the year. This is just an amazing book and really speaks to both sides of a political issue, and it's amazing. All right, moving on. Birthday by Meredith Russo. This kind of is the same problem where I struggle with this, and I'm going to be talking about this. I'm either going to be talking about it or I already have. If I already have, I'll link it up in the cards above. About problematic authors, and are their books or are their works still valuable in the community? And so this is one of those ones. It's a struggle because the author is absolutely problematic, but the story is amazing, and as a young trans kid, like in the hands of a young trans kid, that would be so powerful and so strong. So I think it still is a solid 5-star read. It's not one you'll hear me talk about on my channel that much, just because I don't like giving the author the airtime, but it is a solid 5-star read. City of Ghost by Victoria Schwab. This is a middle grade book, and it was one of the first middle grade books that I read, and like, when I started really picking up middle grade, and I was loving it. I was falling for it. It was so great. But I don't know that it is like perfection. So I think I fell for the hype on this one, because I was reading it like not just the hype of the book, but I read it in October. Like, I read it in spooky season, and I was just having all of those spooky autumnal vibes. So, and I was also having like a terrible reading month. So like anything that was remotely good was 5 stars. Okay, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. You have heard me talk about this book so many times. So we already know where it's going, but it is God tier. Elizabeth Acevedo hit the nail on the head with this one. All right, I need to go faster. There's a lot of them here. All right. House of Earth and Blood, Crescent City, #1 by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know. Because I liked the book, but I think I might have fallen for the hype on this one. Because it wasn't a book that I had no intention of reading it until I saw a couple people that like really, really loved it, and they thought it was so good, but I don't know. Like, I think I fell for the hype on this one. All right, Daisy Jones on the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a weird one because, and I think I actually rated it 4.5 stars, but it was 5 stars on Goodreads, so it's on here. So if I read this book physically, it's like a 3-star read. If I listen to it on audio, it's a 5-star read because the audio is amazing. It sounds like one of those like MTV interviews, and they have all like it's full cast. It's great. So like God tier on the narration again, but I think what was I thinking on the actual book? All right, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This one made my top 10 of 2020. It was definitely not 2020, 2019. It was definitely the dark horse. This like science fiction thriller. I'm kind of here for this like genre bending. It was amazing, and I still need to pick up Recursion, but God tier on this one. Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff. This is the conclusion of the Nevernight trilogy, the Nevernight Chronicles. Specifically, this book is God tier. The whole series, maybe not. And I obviously have heard a lot of like mixed reviews about this series in general. But as a conclusion to a trilogy, this book is amazing. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, we don't need to have a conversation about this. We know she is God. Like, we know that. If anyone was doubting that, hi, welcome to the channel. You must be new. Far from the Tree by Robin Benway. This one again made my top 2, top 3, something like that, of 2019. Only book in 2019. No, there were 2 books in 2019 that made me cry. That was one of them. So we are God tier. I love that book so much. It is so precious, so beautiful. If you have not read it, you are sleeping on it. All right, Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the conclusion of the Caraval series. I don't know about this one, because here's the thing. As a conclusion, it was pretty great as far as wrapping things up. It did what it needed to do in a trilogy. But I think because I binge read that entire series. Like, I think I read the entire thing in 6 weeks, maybe, total. Or I know at least I read 2 and 3, like, back to back. What was I thinking? I don't think it's a 5-star read. Like, I think that series as a whole is probably 3 to 4. Fixer Up by Tessa Bailey. This is an adult romance. I read it last year in the summer. It's a great beach read type of a book. But I read it when a lot of the bigger booktubers were reading it and they were loving it. And I think I fell for the hype on this one because while it's good, it definitely is a good book. I was like, oh, this is going to be my favorite romance of the year. And like, I didn't even make my top 10 books. So it just, yeah. I fell for the hype on this one. All right. The Gender Secret by, I don't even remember who this is by. There's The Gender Secret and The Gender Game. That's like number 1 and either number 2 or number 3 in the series. The series I binge read prior to starting BookTube. I think I finished the series as I was starting my channel. And I have no idea what that book is about anymore. So we're just going to put both of them on the need to reread because I'm going to put, because that's bugging me. Okay. I don't remember anything about it. I would imagine it's probably a solid book, but I don't know that it's 5 stars, especially because the whole thing is written, the whole point of the book is about this matriarchal society and patriarchal society. And so, like, there's this one where, like, men rule everything, and then this other country where women rule everything. But I don't know that we had a conversation in the entire 7-book series about non-binary people. And I know it's an older series, but I don't know, like, what happens when you're non-binary? Where do they go? So, Girls of Paper and Fire. I have read this twice. It made my top books of 2018. I think it's a solid 5-star book. I don't know that it's God tier. And the only reason I'm hesitating is because of how bad Girls of Storm and Shadow was. I mean, I stood in a line for an hour and a half for that arc at BookCon. And it was such a disappointment, but I don't think that the first book was bad. I mean, I think part of it was falling for the hype because, like, Books and Lala made it like one of her favorite books. And so there was definitely some hype around it, but I don't know, like, I read that book in like 2 days, which is pretty good for a fantasy for me. So, yeah, we're putting it in a solid 5-star read. All right, God's Grave by J. Kristoff. This is the second book in the Nevernight Chronicles. I think that the first The first one I gave 4 stars, and then the second and the third one I gave 5 stars. This, I think, it's a solid 5 star, but it's not perfection like Dark Dawn is. It's a very different, like, more like, I don't know, gladiator type story, and it's very interesting, but I don't remember as much of it as I do Dark Dawn. These next 2 are my most recent 5-star reads, and it's going to be hard for me to talk about, like, whether or not they're God tier or not, because, I mean, I don't know, it's just going to be biased, because, like, these are my most recent reads. I think that Head Over Heels, I think it's God tier, but, like, at the same time, is that because it's a recent read for me and it's because it's stuck in my head, or is it because there is, like, is it that good? I know that the mental health representation for former athletes is amazing, and I can say that because I am a former athlete and a former gymnast specifically, and I know the mental trauma that we went through. So there is nothing, like, out of line or anything like that. She didn't glorify these things. It was good. I don't know. This isn't a review video. I'm overcomplicating things. It's a God tier. Same with I don't know. Is Home Before Dark a solid 5-star, or is it God tier? Like, it's, like, right here. It's right here. Because, like, the way that he did, like, Stephen King-esque magic with his book, perfect. I think it's just a solid 5-star. It's good, but, like, I think that it could have been better. Like, is it? I don't know. Could it have been better? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not. There are snakes in it, though. I think it's still God tier. Yeah, because there's a bunch of snakes in it that are maybe not relevant, and I hated those scenes, but I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I read it in over less than 24 hours, so yeah. Here's where we get interesting. Harry Potter. The first time I read Harry Potter was as an adult. So I read it in 2018 as this first one. And I'm not going to continue. I mean, I've read the first 5, I think. I don't think I'm going to continue reading them. And I think I fell for the hype. Because if you actually look at Harry Potter critically, especially the early ones, they are not good books. The writing style is not great. It is very, white-centered. It's, there's no diversity in it. If we held up that book according to today's standards of books, it would fall very, very flat. So, yes, I fell for the hype. The Hunger Games is a solid 5-star read. I actually did reread this book at the beginning of last year, I believe, and it was so surprising. And then I read the rest of the series in preparation for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I was so surprised at how these books held up after a decade. They are some good fiction. I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara is a true crime. I read it in 2018. It made my top books of the year, and it's a solid 5-star book. The only reason I'm not giving it God tier status, A, I can't do that for every book, but B, I don't read a ton of true crime, so for me, it's a great book. But for someone who maybe reads a ton of that in a year, is it that good? I have no idea. So we're just gonna put it at a solid 5-star. All right, Illuminae by Amie Kaufman and J. Kristoff. This book is God tier. We're going to end the conversation right there. It's magic is what it is. Mixed media is so difficult to write, and they did it so seamlessly, and also the narration and the audiobook is God tier. So, okay, The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong. This is an absolutely adorable book, and I absolutely love it. And I think it's a solid 5-star read, although I also need to reread it. But I don't think I need to reread it to make sure that I still love it. Because I know I still do. I just want to reread it. London Can You Wait by Jacqueline Middleton. This is a book, and I've read all of her works. She has 3 out kind of in the same universe. And London Can You Wait is the second in a duology about this girl that is a playwright, graduates college, moves to London. I think I need to reread this book only because I read it very early in my booktube career, as it were. Like this was January of 2018 is when I read this book. So very early on. I know that the mental health aspects of it are great, and that in and of itself I'm not worried about. I'm more worried about the like actual writing style. So, Until the Last Star Fades is her third novel, and that is a solid 5-star read, also with the mental health aspect of it, and I have read it more recently. Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali. This is just the most adorable book on the planet. I read it last year for the Dragons and Tea Book Club, and it's just the cutest YA contemporary ever. All right, Moonstruck Volume One. This is a graphic novel about two werewolves, I think, that are lesbians, and one's a barista, and they're adorable and cute. And I think it made my top books of 2018. It's a solid 5-star read. I didn't like Volume 2 as much, which is really sad. Okay, The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. I think I fell for the hype on this one, or I would need to. So here's the thing: do I need to reread it? But it's a thriller, so I'm not going to be as impressed the second time around. So did I fall for the hype? I think I need to reread it. Maybe if I read it physically, it'll be different. All right, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I read this earlier this year, and it was fantastic. I don't know that it's God tier, just because I don't know. I mean, it's a good book, and it's a very, very dark story. I think it might be like it's another one of those right here kind of things. We're gonna put it up here. Yeah. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. This book is probably started my love of fantasy, and it's like this urban fantasy. So, I mean, it's a solid 5-star read, but I've listened to it on audio, and I don't know that I would get the same enjoyment out of it in a physical book. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, we're not going to have a conversation about. We know it is God tier. That book is one of my all-time favorite books. I've read it twice now. I do want to reread it a third time because I can. All right, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I think that's what this is. That's a solid 5-star read for me. That's it's not a bad book. It's not a like I love the story, and so being able to see the original just makes the retellings that much better. All right, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I've read it twice. I think it's actually a 4.5-star read for me. And I gave it 4.5 stars both times, but I think that I'm learning a little bit more of the cultural things and how it's just not correct in a lot of things. So I think I fell for the hype on this one. Scythe by Neil Shusterman. That is a solid 5-star read. And it would be God tier if the whole series didn't fall flat on its face at the end. Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Here's the thing with this book. This was one of the first kind of LGBTQ coming of age type coming out stories that I read. I read it in early 2018, and I thought it was the cutest thing in the whole world. Now, looking at it, Becky Albertalli's writing is kind of atrocious, and the book has some really problematic things in it, like, blackmail. That's not cute. So what was I thinking? All right, The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Also, we aren't going to have a conversation about why won't it let me go up? There we go. That goes here. We all know that I worship at the temple of Erin Morgenstern. We know this. Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. I also worship at her altar, so she's going to go up there too. I won't shut up about this book. I have 2 people right now texting me about this book, which I'm here for. I want everyone to read this book. If you're reading this book, please DM me. I will share in your joy. The Tea Dragon Festival, but that's not the Tea Dragon. I did this in my wrap-up, too. I called it the festival. It's a Tea Dragon Tapestry by Katie O'Neill. This is another graphic novel, and it is adorable. I just finished it. It's a solid 5-star read. The artwork is phenomenal. It's precious and cute. I don't know that it's like, it's not God tier. It's not going to make my top 10, but it's good. All right, the Book of Essie. I don't remember who wrote this. I read this in 2018. Listened to it on audiobook. This is kind of a book about like kind of Duggars, like 19 Kids and Counting type like family that have this reality show. I need to reread this book because it's I remember bits and pieces of it and enjoyed it. I remember enjoying it as much as you can enjoy a dark contemporary. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas is God tier. That woman can write anything. The way she makes her characters is just phenomenal. She is writing a book about Star's father right now, and like I might actually sell my soul for that book. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is another one that I think I need to reread. I haven't read it, like I said, it was early 2018 when I read it. And I remember finishing the book and being like, I don't know what everybody's like so excited about. I mean, it was a good book, but I don't think it was the perfect book. But I'm going to give it 5 stars because everyone else is. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I fell for the hype on this one. I would need to reread it to see like what I still thought about it. But I was like, I do remember like being in contemporary, I thought, and this is like back when I was just this like little tiny baby channel, but I thought everyone was watching my vlogs, and I was like, if I don't give this book a 5-star, like they're gonna kick me out of the club because all of the hosts love it and everybody else that's reading it loves it, so I'm gonna be kicked out of BookTube. I think I fell for the hype on that. The Right Swipe by Alicia Rai is a solid 5-star. This is a good one. Definitely better than her second one, Girl Gone Viral. I still like that one, but The Right Swipe was so good. Like, it's a sports romance, so like I'm always here for those. The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one by Amanda Lovelace is a collection of poems. I only put one of them in here, even though I think I gave her all of her 5 stars, or most of them. But this one is like probably the most powerful one, and I think I need to reread this one specifically because I was in a very different headspace when I read this one, and I was a very angry person, and so I resonated with her anger. And it was funny because a lot of people didn't like this book because they thought it was too angry, and I resonated with it because I was angry, so it was a good time had by all. So I don't know if that one is specifically still a 5-star. We'll see. Thunderhead by Neil Schusterman. Also gonna put it in the 5-star read. I'll put you over here. Simply because it fell flat on its head in the last book, which is unfortunate. Alright, All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. This is a very controversial book because, and I talked about this when I read it way back when, fall of 2018. How do I still remember these things? All the Ugly and Wonderful Things is either a 5-star book or a 1-star book for a lot of people because it does definitely romanticize this like pedophilic relationship, and that's not really okay. But at the same time, like, you're rooting for the relationship because it's the only good thing that this girl has going for her. It's a weird feeling. I think it's a solid 5-star read, though, in the fact that the writing is phenomenal and it is dark and heavy and sad. The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren was really, really funny, but I think I fell for the hype on it because I have not liked a Christina Lauren book since, and I don't know that it's a perfect 5-star book. I think it's like a 4-star, but I don't know that it's 5-star. Vicious by V.E. Schwab is probably my favorite book that Victoria Schwab has written. I love these two characters. I didn't like Vengeful nearly as much, but this one did make my top 10 books of the year last year. And yeah, solid 5-star. Alright, The Wicked King by Holly Black. Ooh, okay, so the first time I read this, I think I only gave it 4 stars. And then I reread it in preparation for Queen of Nothing and gave it 5 stars. And I don't think that, I don't know. This is hard because, like, it's not a perfect book. I think I fell for the hype on it. All right, and then Ken Follett's A World Without End is the second book in the Pillars of the Earth trilogy, and this is a solid 5-star book. It's 1,000-page or maybe more. I don't know. It's a very big book, and it doesn't seem like it's a topic that would be very interesting, but Ken Follett is an amazing world builder, and he can craft characters phenomenally. So it was the entire 1,000 pages was super enjoyable. Anyway, those are my 5-star reads. Maybe they're not all 5 stars. I can't believe I have this many in the I fell for the hype. This is a pretty, the what was I thinking column is pretty normal. I guess I don't say normal. I came up with this. It's kind of what I expected because these are all books that I read pretty early on in my 2 2018s and 2 early 2019s. So it's been at least a year and a half since I've read any of these. But this is a big number of things that I fell for the hype on. And some of them, Sarah J. Maas is a 2020 book. So I'm still doing it apparently. And this is not the God tier, not surprising at all. These I think all made top 10s of their respective years, or if they are this year, might make top 10. Who knows? And although this year's been weird, I don't know that I've had a ton of this is going to make my top 10. Who knows? So let me know if any of these books surprised you. Did you think that I would put them in a different tier? Let me know down below and we will have a conversation. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video, and all of the other links to my social media will be in the description below if you would like to be my friend on any other platform. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! What makes this heart beat faster?